Well, I've been researching such events and the background to them and the background to global power and where it really is now for nearly 30 years full time. And you cannot see any picture in any individual situation without seeing the connections between apparently unconnected people, organizations, and events. So, in terms of the blatant and utterly obvious demonization of Russia, which has been going on for such a long time now, you cannot divorce what NATO is doing through this, gopher frontman Jens Stoltenberg, in terms of expulsion of diplomats, with the build-up of NATO and NATO military on the borders of Russia. You can't divorce it from the American coup, because that's what it was in Ukraine and what has followed, or the fact I see Sputnik broke a story this week about the US building a military base in Syria. What Russia has done by intervening in Syria is thrown a spanner in the works of the plan by America and the West to use a proxy army called ISIS to remove Assad. So now they're into plan B, but it's not going away. It's still a point of possible conflict. And then you look at the claims that Russia manipulated the US election. Again, this common theme, where is the evidence? And then we come on to current events in terms of the attack in Salisbury, which has been blamed on the Russian government, again, without any evidence being proved. This is a massive demonization operation against Russia, because as I've been writing now for decades, the plan is to lead the world into World War III, pitching the West against Russia and China, with Iran thrown in and some other countries. And this is the build-up, the demonization, the preparing of the Western public perception to justify that. Their problem is that I can tell you from experience that large numbers of people in the West are not buying it. They're not buying this ridiculous, blatant attempt to demonize Russia and blame it for everything. Well, this is one reason, I think, why Vladimir Putin came out and made his presentation of Russia's latest capability to get through Western defenses in terms of missile defenses, etc. It was to point out that this is mutually assured destruction, because as some Russian diplomats and others have pointed out, when you're looking at a defense to missile system, which of course with the West is introduced into Europe and elsewhere, you're actually breaking that, or potentially breaking that, mutually assured destruction situation, because it gives you, if you can defend yourself from incoming missiles, it means that you have a first strike opportunity. And we mustn't forget that these Western governments, particularly the United States, are run by psychopathic people. They are not rational people who see things as most other people do. And if you look at the progression from September 2000, when a neocon operation in the United States called the Project The New American Century published a list of countries it wanted to regime change, and then you look at those countries: Iraq, Iran, Libya, Syria, Lebanon, North Korea, you start seeing that actually what's happened is that list is being ticked off no matter what administration has been in power, whether it's Republican or Democrat, because there is a hidden hand that is there no matter what president or party is officially in power. Now, here's a major point in regard to that. One of the major architects of that report, that document calling for this regime change and for America to fight multiple theater wars, was a guy called John Bolton. John Bolton has just been appointed by Trump as his national security advisor. This guy is the hawk's hawk. He is the extremist. And when you then look at the proposal by Trump to make a guy called Mike Pompeo the Secretary of State, he's an anti-Russia, anti-Iran, all the right credentials for these people. And then you've got a guy who's Secretary of Defense, who is so psychopathic. He's given the nickname Mad Dog, James Mad Dog Mattis. So, it doesn't bode well for world peace when you've got these extremists in power following an agenda that can very clearly be seen step by step since at least September 2000. Well, it would appear to be going that way, but experience says let's wait and see. And the very same John Bolton was calling very recently for preemptive strikes against North Korea. An Israeli military person in the last few days has said that John Bolton at one time was trying to persuade him to have a strike against Iran. These are the people we're dealing with. You see, the whole plan, the whole outcome that is in the gun sights, literally, of this global network is global control. They want a world government dictating to every country and every community, a world army dictating the will of the world government and imposing it upon the global population. And that's what NATO is. NATO, not least through the American military, is the world army developing in front of our eyes. Do you know the United States military has broken up the world into commands? There's a North Command for domestic North America, a Southern Command, there's a Central Command, there is a command for different parts of the world. But that is not really for the American military. That's a stepping stone that is putting in place a structure for the planned world army coming in. And anyone that will not bow to that, will not allow themselves to be absorbed into this world government tyranny, is in the sights of the networks that operate not least through the American military and the American government. And we've had this massive spending bill passed this week in the United States, which vastly increases spending on the military. And this is a president in Trump who, during his election campaign, was saying, I want to stop United States military intervention in other countries. Well, he's done the opposite. Why? Because the people that controlled in the background George Bush, and Barack Obama now control Trump. These are here today, gone tomorrow people. If we're going to understand what's going on and how it fits together, we've got to look at that force which is always there, no matter who's in power. And it's that force, by the way, and the networks of that force, that web, that coordinate common responses. And so, on the basis of absolutely no evidence whatsoever that's been produced in any way as proof, we have all these other countries expelling diplomats. America, of course, many, but all these other European and other countries expelling diplomats in sympathy with the United Kingdom. Well, in sympathy with what? You don't do things in sympathy. You do things on the basis of evidence. But, of course, we're in a post-fact, post-evidence society, and all that happens now is something is claimed, and in the old Nazi propaganda technique, you just keep repeating it, and then the lie eventually becomes accepted truth. And so there is no explanation for why all these countries would expel Russian diplomats on the basis of no evidence whatsoever, unless it's coordinated.